The Varn Dominion didn't waste elite resources on low-tier targets. Earth was classified as a Class 3 primitive world, technologically fractured, politically unstable, and barely functional in terms of space travel, intelligence reports suggested. A patchwork of defense networks and only 12 unified fleets under the Terran coalition, an easy culling. The Dominion's 600-ship detachment was dispatched more as a formality than a campaign. Most commanders considered it a practice run for cadets. When Dominion forces arrived near Jupiter's orbit, they expected panic. They found radio chatter filled with music and memes. One intercepted feed showed humans laughing during a live podcast as the first orbital strike hit Europa Station. Dominion tacticians dismissed it as cultural insanity. Their first attack was surgically Europa, was glassed within minutes. Resistance was non-existent. No retaliation. Not even a distress. Call that should have confirmed the planet's inferiority. A captured Terran general was found aboard a fleeing skiff. When questioned, he smiled with blood in his mouth and whispered, "You picked the wrong day." That wasn't even one of ours. Confusion followed. They just wiped out a major Terran installation. The general's words made no sense. A minor threat's bluff, they thought. They reached Earth orbit expecting surrender. No shields raised. No fleets postured. No grandstanding. Just a quiet, cold silence across all human channels. Dominion Command gave the order to initiate precision strikes across key military sites. But the first wave of missiles vanished before impact caught in midair by something invisible. Interference. A cloaked shield grid. No matching tech in. The database. The Dominion hesitated. That's when the Earth retaliated. Out of nowhere. Objects launched from deep in the Earth's crust mass driver pods moving at hypersonic speeds. They weren't missiles. They were entry canisters. Hundreds of them. Each carrying a single weaponized combat unit. Not soldiers. Not drones, something in between. Autonomous exosuits piloted by uploaded mind clones of Earth's elite special forces. Silent. Deadly. Unpredictable. Dominion ships exploded from within, torn open by infiltrators that slipped through their shields like phantoms. A single Earth pod disassembled a Dominion cruiser in under 2 minutes. Reports of AI-based electronic countermeasures flooded command. Dominion battle computers stopped responding or began turning on their own. Gravity fields twisted. Hulls collapsed in on themselves. The initial 600 ships began falling, first dozens, then hundreds. No single fleet pattern emerged from Earth. No unified broadcast. Attacks came from everywhere, Arctic silos, asteroid relays, even from ocean depths. A breakdown in logic. No central node to strike. Human systems weren't interconnected, they were chaos incarnate. Dominion ships tried scrambling communications to disrupt coordination. But Earth had none to scramble. A low-ranking Varn officer watching the pattern finally understood. This isn't coordination, this is infestation. A Dominion strategist ordered a full scan. The results were terrifying. What they thought was Earth's full military force, those 12 fleets were barely active, most weren't even present, and yet Earth was tearing them apart. Then a human message. Low band, almost casual, cut across every Dominion channel that wasn't even our army. Asterisk Dominion Command scrambled to reassert control. Dozens of capital ships were already lost. And the enemy's tactics defied every algorithm. They tried to adapt, deploy counter AI, reconfigure shielding patterns, isolate battle clusters, but nothing worked. The enemy didn't follow any known doctrine. Their weapons weren't mass-produced. They were customized, rigged with volatile ingenuity that Dominion tech couldn't predict. One scout ship reported being boarded by what looked like a mining crew wielding plasma-laced jackhammers and makeshift teleport grenades. Every time a Varn vessel destroyed one wave, 2 more would appear from a different direction often, from angles that made no spatial sense. Several carriers were attacked from within by pods disguised as debris, sent weeks in advance and activated by cryptic code buried in open-source music files the humans broadcasted for fun. The realization struck too late. Humanity had known the Dominion was coming. They had prepared, but not conventionally. not with structure. With layered madness, a transmission leaked from Earth's orbital shadow revealed multiple nations deploying, independently, each with unique tactics, vessels, and doctrines. Some used brute force railguns. Others launched swarm drones powered by solar sails. Some factions used retrofitted Dominion tech that had been salvaged from past encounters never reported by the Varn. A rogue fleet of Martian colonists emerged. Next, wielding energy-based slingshot systems that ignored every known law of Dominion fleet warfare in one sector. A Varn destroyer was forced into retreat by what Dominion officers identified as an unregistered private company. The humans had militarized a freight corporation, not state forces, not military fleets, just people who got tired of waiting for orders. Their flagship, cobbled together with rusting steel and repurposed satellite cores, managed to collapse a Dominion cruiser's shield matrix by overloading it with amplified Earth-based Wi-Fi signals. More disturbing, human viruses weren't just destructive, they were persuasive. Dominion constructs exposed to Earth code began displaying erratic behavior, reluctance to fire, unnecessary self-preservation maneuvers, some even switching sides. Human engineers hadn't just hacked the machines, they'd convinced them. By the second hour of battle, Dominion forces attempted a full regroup near lunar orbit, but Earth had already anticipated this fallback point. Dozens of hidden rail platforms activated on the moon's dark side, launching ultra-dense payloads at relativistic speeds. 10 more Varn ships fell in an instant. The Dominion admiral screamed. Into the command channel? Where are the rest of their fleets? This can't be all irregulars. An intercepted Earthside military log answered him unintentionally. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't even secure. It was posted publicly, like a reminder. Global defense groups still on standby. No deployment of mainline forces until confirmation of Dominion's full commitment. The Varn froze. They hadn't even triggered Earth's full military response. Everything they'd fought, everything they'd lost to, was just Earth's immediate irregulars. Not trained fleets, not primary weapons, just the overflow. The auxiliary. The response before the real response. Panic took hold across Dominion Command. Because if this was Earth's warm-up, they hadn't come prepared for the real war. A high-priority Dominion transmission crackled through the fleet, encrypted and desperate. Confirm enemy capacity. How many fleets are active? The analyst on the other end didn't respond right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. Current engagement is with non-state actors, local defense militias, and independent units. 0 confirmed engagement from Earth's Central Fleet assets. Silence fell over the command bridge. They weren't fighting the Terran military. They were fighting civilians, corporations, rogue colonies, private A's, and angry engineers. And they were losing badly. In the outer sectors, Dominion ships tried to regroup with reserve forces, only to find their routes blocked by strange vessels that didn't match any known database. Ships that looked like floating ruins, made of scrap and bone and steel welded together with desperation and brilliance. Some were manned, others weren't. All were lethal. One transmission showed a Dominion corvette being ripped apart by a gravity well generated from a ship that shouldn't have had the energy capacity to even hover. Panic spread like fire. The Grand Marshal of the fleet demanded a map overlay. What he saw made no sense. Over 200 independent combat clusters lit up across Earth space. That was impossible. There were only 12 recognized global fleets. The Marshal's second-in-command stared in horror. They're not fleets. They're factions, volunteers. Half of them don't even like each other. Across the war zone, human broadcasts poured in audio, visual, even mimetic. Some were taunts, some were jokes. Some were instructions for civilians on how to convert water treatment plants into plasma cannon nodes. Dominion translators couldn't keep up, one general screamed. It's like they're evolving while we're watching. Dominion forces managed to down a cluster of Earth's stealth drones, only to discover that their wreckage contained beacons transmitting false fleet locations, drawing fire onto their own ships. They weren't just being outgunned. They were being outmaneuvered by improvisation A hacked Dominion satellite broadcast one final, encrypted message across the fleet. They still haven't deployed the Deep Fleet. The Deep Fleet was theoretical. A rumored program buried in ancient intercepted human communications. No visual confirmation had ever been made. If it existed, it was humanity's doomsday arsenal ships, built not for defense or deterrence, but for finality. It hadn't moved. The Grand Marshal demanded full withdrawal, but the fold gates were unstable. Earth's cyber units had already hijacked half the nav paths. Some ships tried jumping and never reappeared. Others came out the wrong side of the galaxy into dead zones or empty space. At Dominion High Command, the truth was finally spoken aloud. This isn't just resistance, the tactician said. This isn't even war. This is what happens when you wake something that's been preparing in silence. A captured Earth pilot, bleeding but smiling, delivered the final message in person. You wanted to see our strength. It wasn't even us trying. The Galactic Empire didn't retreat out of fear. They fled because, for the first time in centuries, they had no idea what was coming next. Asterisk retreat orders spread across the fractured Dominion fleet. But they came too late to matter. The fold gates that once linked their warpaths across the stars were no longer reliable. Some collapsed outright, their exit points consumed by spatial instability. Others rerouted ships into trap coordinates, regions seeded with mines, gravity spikes, or worse. Earth's cyber units had rewritten the map mid-battle, turning the Dominion's own infrastructure into a maze of destruction. A few surviving ships managed to jump, only to emerge light years away from any Dominion territory. Communications dark. Supplies gone? No help coming? Those who survived spoke of shadows following them, one registered Terran craft. Silent and unidentifiable, tailing from just beyond sensor range. Earth hadn't just driven them back, it was hunting them at the Dominion capital. Panic turned into revolt. News feeds showed images of noble houses burning their insignias, generals abandoning posts, the citizenry demanding to know how a primitive species had shattered the unshakable empire in a single engagement. The High Throne remained silent, not out of dignity, but because every attempt to open a secure channel to surviving field commanders failed. Earth had compromised the Dominion's top-level military network. No one even knew how. Counselors argued over Earth's next move. Would they invade? Demand reparations? Enforce occupation? But no message came. Earth didn't issue ultimatums. Didn't even acknowledge victory. The entire Terran sphere went silent. No broadcasts, no statements. Just quiet. That terrified the Dominion more than any fleet ever could. In the following days, dozens of former Varna-lined worlds broke. Often sent envoys to Earth. Some brought gifts. Others begged for protection. Many simply asked for terms. None received a reply. Instead, a singular automated signal began transmitting across the known galaxy. Conflict terminated. Surveillance activated. Do not interfere again. There was no voice, no signature. Everyone knew who sent it. Dominion war scholars revised centuries of doctrine overnight. For generations, they had believed in order through strength, domination through fear. But Earth had rewritten the laws of engagement. Not by matching force with force, but by demonstrating that unpredictability, chaos, and sheer human determination were far more dangerous than perfection. In deep space, long-abandoned probes began, activating a nurse-old tech, dormant for centuries. They'd been watching the stars, waiting for the wrong move. Earth hadn't expanded because it lacked the will. It had waited because it knew someone would come knocking. They did. Humanity didn't just answer. It cracked the door off its hinges. The Galactic Council held an emergency vote. Earth was declared a Class X forbidden zone engagement punishable by universal exile. The Empire voted unanimously. Some still whisper about what lies beneath the oceans of Earth, beneath its crust, in the quiet black stations orbiting moons no one had bothered to name. The Deep Fleet still hadn't moved, and maybe it never would. Less called. The Varn Dominion learned too late that Earth didn't bluff. It didn't posture. It waited. It endured. And when challenged, it didn't unleash everything, just enough to make sure no one ever tried again.